Let's just come back to investing in tech, because there's an awful lot of money out there, a lot of hot money out there, and a lot of money that's been pulled out of, for instance, real estate when people got out at the right time. And they're trying to invest in anything, and it's funded. A lot of the time, we could say that it's been misinvested. Arguably, we're actually living in an era of misallocation of capital. One of the best, if you like.
Not just arguably, certainly we are.
So the misallocation of capital, this is the era, and economic historians will go back and look at it and say, my God, those people got it horribly wrong. A lot of things have been funded in the tech space that shouldn't have been. And we've got these racy valuations on unicorns and all the language that goes with it. Is that not also an Uber bubble? And I don't mean to use Uber in that sense, excuse the pun, but is that not a massive bubble that's going to collapse at some point? Or is tech so entrenched now that the effect of that deflating isn't going to be as big?
Well, it's a good question. I mean, I think one of the reasons that a lot of these tech companies are not going public is because their private equity or venture capital investors don't want them to, because then they might be marked to market. So they like the idea.
And be found out.
And be found out, right? So, that's why you're getting, very late IPOs or getting no IPOs. I think there's been almost no IPOs in the US of tech companies. The number of bleeding unicorns out there is going to, dying unicorns is going to be absolutely phenomenal. But one of the really interesting things is that the US is absolutely dominant in technology. I've got an apartment in San Francisco, and you can just see it there. It's in a different league to here. And this is an interesting statistic, I think anyway. In the last 4 years, the profits of the 50 top internet platforms in the world have a guess how much?
I couldn't. I mean,
1.6 trillion US dollars, not billion, trillion US dollars.
Proportionally, what does that mean? If we're comparing, what does
half
that
the size of the UK economy in profits on an annual basis, right? That's the profits of the internet platforms. That's the Googles, Facebooks, Tencent in China, Alibaba, that sort of thing, all right? That's just their profits, not their revenues. Of that, 80% of those profits went to the United States. 80% went to the United States. Guess what percentage was in Europe?
It's going to be, it's a horror story, isn't it?
5%.
Right.
We are pathetic at technology here in Europe. And they can do all their conferences and all that sort of stuff. They just do not have the mojo or the capability or the economic environment to compete against the Americans. That is going to be a very, very big challenge for Europe. So rip up the rule book, start again, create a really, truly entrepreneurial society. If you can think of one successful, genuinely disruptive internet company that's come out of Europe, I can't.
I can't, and that pains me, because it isn't as if you don't have the. This is back to the misallocation of capital.
Yeah.
It pains me because it's not as if you don't have the talent, but the management is pretty poor. And the way we think about it, our approach, and key point, our mindset and our approach to failure, certainly in the UK, is awful.
Yeah.
It's seen as a business disaster, whereas in the US it's seen as a badge of honor. Is that what you've experienced?
Yes, I mean, I think that, if I'm looking at the companies that are supposedly worth $1 billion in Europe. So you've got Shazam, which I would think is worth like $50 million. I mean, it's yesterday's technology. Google can do it, Apple can do it, anyone can do it. Spotify, which is a great way of taking a $1.50 and making it $1 every time you do it. There's no positive model for Spotify. I mean, I think that's a complete disaster. Here in the UK, Just Eat. Well, is that really internet disruption? I mean, to me, that's just like a service. It can, Deliveroo or anyone else can do that. I could do it. We could set up one tomorrow morning, basically.
Deliveroo?
Another one that's going to, it's not going to deliver the goods, so to speak. It might deliver the food, but it won't deliver the returns. So with copycat, we're not disruptive, and something's wrong. And it's all got to do with the construction of the European Union, the meddling, the tinkering, the George Osborneism. We absolutely need a crisis, and we need a new form of leadership, basically.